Welcome to Are You Quizzing Me? I'm Vinit Nair with my co-host Aditya Kashyap. This is a quizzing trivia podcast show. Join us as we dive deep into history, science, sport, pop culture, and so much more. Let's get quizzing.
And welcome back. It's another day, another episode. Aditya and I are back for another round of quizzing. But before we get to the actual quizzing part of the show, let's do away with to the torture part of the show. Aditya, there's a question that you have pending, hanging off a cliff, actually, from last week.
I do, and I believe the question I asked was about the Hollywood Walk of Fame and how they have used a circle to pay their respects to the first moon landing and to commemorate that. So I wondered what would they use a square for, and I realized the answer was very evident. The Hollywood Walk of Fame, if they ever decided to show their respect to journalism and journalists, perhaps one of the first few that they would give is to a pretty renowned daily newspaper, a news organization in the US. It's called the New York Times. And if you are going to commemorate the Times, you'll do it with the Times Square
Oh,
and
God.
not with the Times Star.
No, no, no. Oh God. Yeah. I was wondering where you were going with this. For a second, I thought when you said journalist, I thought you were going to go Clark Kent and that people,
No,
called him a square, as in because he was, completely straightforward with a Boy Scout about everything.
that's the thing with my answers. You don't know where I'm going. I don't know where I'm going, but we
Many
somehow end up
levels.
somewhere.
So many levels. Okay. But not bad, not bad, not bad. Times
Thank you.
Square. That's a clever one. Yes, I'll give that to you. So let's start off with the quiz. I'll start off this today with this episode today with a question. Though X seems to be quite recent, there is literature about this which dates back to the early 17th century in China. It also finds its mention in a few books in Japan. This primarily involves three principles: cutting, crushing, and covering. What is X? It's a little vague. I
Again,
purposely made it a little vague.
yeah.
I can give you clues if you
Hmm.
as we go forward.
Wow, I'm a bit blank right now. So again, sorry, it is a practice, right? Cutting, crushing,
I'm
and
not. I haven't
covering.
mentioned it. So basically, it has. It though people think it's quite recent. There is literature about this which dates back to the 17th century in China. It finds mention in a few books in Japan, and it primarily involves three principles: cutting,
Okay,
crushing, and covering.
okay, principles and not an activity. Cutting, crushing, and covering. Um, wow. I would say this has something to do with is it that the art of war thing? Like, is it some kind
No,
of
not Sun Tzu, not
warfare
Sun Tzu, not
technique?
Sun Tzu.
That's Sun Tzu's art of war.
No,
Okay.
no, no. Technically, you could say this is a form of warfare. Some people do use this as a form of warfare.
Oh, interesting. Cutting, crushing, and covering. Uh, Descent again seems like I can crush descent, I can cover descent. I don't know how you would cut descent.
No, no, no. This
Hmm.
is nothing like that.
Okay.
Okay, I'll give it to you.
Uh,
I'll give you one more clue, one more
yeah,
sentence, which should may clarify things quite a bit.
okay.
This usually happens between two people, but more people can join it to make it more complex and interesting.
I guess sex. It's my first guess. But then again, that seems
Seriously, cutting might be difficult.
yeah,
Crushing and covering, I
that's
can still kind of imagine, but cutting would be difficult to justify for that answer. I'm sorry.
yeah. It happens usually between two people, but more people can join in for it to be
Ye-
more
Yes,
interesting.
yeah. There are two ways. More people can join in with just these three principles, or there are
Hmm.
some versions where more principles also come into place,
Okay,
into
interesting.
come into play. Basically, sorry. Yeah.
Between two people. Is it some sort of a sport?
I wouldn't call it a sport, but it's a game. Yes, it's a game.
Oh, okay. Oh, I don't know why in my head I immediately went to Battleship, but then again, that's not
No,
Chinese
no,
or
it's not
Japanese in
Battleship.
origin.
No, no. I don't know if it is, if it has, because surprisingly many games have their
Well,
origins in the
true, it could
Orient.
be, yeah.
Yeah.
Could be. But okay, no, I am blanking right now. I have no idea.
Okay. Let me put it this way: people use this when they want to break a tie, or when there's an unpleasant task between, and they want to decide who's going to do it. They
Oh,
use.
okay. Cutting, crushing, and covering. Wow. I would have never made the connection, but I'm assuming you mean rock, paper, scissors.
Yes, it is rock paper scissors. So the first mention of this game was in the book Wuzasu. I don't know how to, that's a butchered pronunciation, I'm very sorry. By the Ming Dynasty writer Ji Xiaoxie in around 1600, who wrote that the game dated back to the time of the Han Dynasty, which is 206 BCE. Okay. In the book, the game was called Shaoxling, and Li Rihua's book Note of Lun Zai also mentions this game, calling it Shaoxling. So this is quite old. If that
Wow.
author can be believed, it's even around maybe around 2,200, 2,300 years old.
Wow. That is quite the history. I would have never imagined, but makes sense. It's one of the simplest and yet most entertaining games ever.
Yes.
Almost as simple and as entertaining as sex, some might claim. Yeah. All
And
right.
if you're a Big Bang Theory fan, I think there was a version of this game that was made popular, rock paper scissors lizard Spock.
Yeah, I remember that. I remember
Yeah.
that. I, in fact,
Yeah.
have played that version also with friends, but we had to keep a cheat sheet
Oh.
in hand just because every time we
Remember.
played and we were not sure who won, and then we would have to refer to the cheat sheet. Yeah, that
Yeah.
was a fun little game. Okay, great question. Love that.
Yeah.
Wow,
Your turn.
was completely out of the left field. But speaking of not realizing what is being spoken of,
Mhm.
that's quite the pivot. But there is a little tweet from December
Mhm.
22nd, 2019, by the
Okay.
Jerusalem Post, in which they were talking about the International Criminal Court and their statement that the Israeli government is afraid of The Hague, pointing to the failure to
Okay.
evacuate the illegal Bedouin village of Khan al Ahmar. Okay, these are just technicalities, and this was something of a stance from the Jerusalem Post. So, not getting into
Okay.
the factual part of whatever they claimed. However,
Okay.
this tweet
Okay.
got a response from a very account, unlikely Twitter account.
Okay.
Who
Okay.
responded to this tweet and why? Somebody not related in any particular way to Jerusalem or Israel or Palestine or any of it, and yet was responding to this tweet. Who was it?
Okay. So this is regarding. Okay, it's not important what their original tweet was.
Okay, so I'll repeat that what the context of the tweet was again. It was
Uh,
basically the International Criminal Court had in a statement said that um, the Israeli lawmakers had responded to them saying that they want to dismantle Palestinian Authority. Okay, so that was the
okay.
basically in effect what they were talking about. So some Israel Palestine issue, and the
Hmm.
Jerusalem Post had spoken about that. Now, which Twitter account responded to this tweet, which who you would not expect to, and why?
Okay, that's a little out of left field. I'm trying to guess. So because you mentioned it's nothing to do with Jerusalem, so I'm guessing it's not the Armenians, it's not the uh,
It's not a country at
Palestinians.
all, actually.
Okay, okay. So it's not an official account of any form.
No, it
Not an
is
account
an
of an
official
official
account.
organization. Okay, it's a verified account, basically.
It is, you would be surprised, it is an organization, but it's not a country, if that makes sense.
Okay.
So it isn't a government, or it isn't a country, or it isn't even a government representative for that matter.
Okay, so it's one of those independent kind of things.
Yes, an organization which is not a country.
So something like UNICEF?
No, no, not UNICEF.
Okay. Who would want to get in between an Israeli-Palestinian dogfight? I mean, like, who's brave enough to venture there?
So the question then becomes, why also would they respond to this? Now
Yeah, that's what I'm.
let me
Because the
repeat
reason
the
I mentioned
context of it.
UNICEF, yeah, the reason I mentioned UNICEF was my way of thinking of a ceasefire for vaccinations, and those kind of things do happen in between
Oh, no,
war.
no, no. So this is actually kind of a faux pas that the Jerusalem Post committed. The kind of a mistake they made in their tweet, and hence this Twitter account responded to them.
Okay, so then I would have to ask you for the content of the tweet itself. Is that
Okay,
a possible
they
clue
should.
that I could get?
Of course, I can give that, and this should hopefully make it much easier. Okay. In light of the International Cricket Court statement, the party MK and the tag in another account stated that the Israeli government is afraid of the Hague, quote unquote. The Israeli government is afraid of the Hague, pointing to the failure to evacuate the illegal Bedouin village of Khan al Ahmar.
Okay, so this was the tweet. So I'm
Yeah,
going to
this is the
guess
tweet.
it's either the ICC or the BCCI.
You got that right. It is the ICC. So they tagged in light of the at the rate ICC statement, instead of tagging the International Criminal Court, which is a different Twitter account, they tagged International Cricket Council for being involved in this. And ICC was like, "Hey, buddy, we weren't in this dogfight. Please don't
You
get us
you gave me
involved."
this answer actually because I think you mentioned at the ICC International Cricket Council
Oh,
when you were
okay.
reading out the
Well,
tweet.
did I say International Cricket Council?
Yes, you did. I was
Oh,
wondering why is
wow.
he telling me?
Did I say that? Oh boy. I meant the International Criminal Court. Oh my. Let's pretend that I was not giving away the answers.
No, that
Instead of,
Freudian slip has served me well.
yeah, instead of are you quizzing me, it was are me quizzing me. I just quizzed myself. That was quite the Papa
No, but
myself.
that is a great
I guess
question.
if Jerusalem Post can make that mistake, so can I. So
True, true.
yeah. Well,
Okay,
okay.
so
All
that
right.
was a great question. I am going to go a little back to mythology and history. Okay,
Hmm.
so Vedic mythology refers to this place as an ancient settlement conquered by King Bharat. Bharata was also called as Pushkal, and so the name of the settlement became known as Pushkalavati. However, research has proven this claim as debatable and hence suggests an alternative of this town, Purushapura or City of Men. The city's name may also be derived from the Sanskrit name for the city of flowers or Poshapura, a name that is found in an ancient Kharoshthi inscription. Which modern day city am I talking about?
So I'm assuming the modern day name carries some relation to the original name, which would then
Yes, that would be a fair
make
guess.
it
Yes.
okay. And you did say Purushavara. Trying to think of his names.
Purushapura or City of
Purushapura.
Men.
Sorry. Yeah.
Poshapura, also known as City of Flowers in Sanskrit.
Right. Uh, Peshawar.
Got it in one. It is Peshawar.
Okay. No, I was thinking of PU and Pune and all of that, but yeah, Peshawar seems like more logical.
Yes, yes. So it's basically the same thing I mentioned before. Sanskrit Purushapura. The
Okay.
city may have also derived its name from the Sanskrit name for the city of flowers. The city came to be known as Peshawar during the era of Emperor Akbar of the
Okay.
Mughal dynasty. So
Okay.
yeah, that was a very quick crack. Very well done one, if I may say so myself. That
Thank
was
you.
a
Thank you
great
so much.
crack.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I have answered two questions very easily. My question and your question.
Okay.
All right. Okay. Um, let's do this question, which is a lovely history-based question, or rather, the invention of something that is very
Hmm.
common today. In 1853, there
Hmm.
was an individual by the name of
Okay.
George Speck who worked
George
in
Peck.
George Speck, who lived in New York and
Okay.
worked there. He worked as a cook of the Moon Lake Lodge Resort. This is 1853 that we're talking about, right?
Okay.
On one of his days working there, there was
Uh,
a customer who ordered French fries and was not satisfied with the way they turned out.
okay.
Eventually, Trump got so exasperated that he uh, changed the recipe slightly and, in the process, invented something new. What
Yeah.
did George Speck Crumb invent?
Okay. Now, to be fair, I did not know that this guy's name was George Crumb, but I have heard the story before. This is
Okay.
the invention of what the British might call the crisp,
All right. Yes,
or we call as potato chips.
that is very well done and very, very easily cracked. Wow, we are on a roll today. Yeah. Yes, it is the invention of the potato chip. And let me be more specific as to what happened there. So, this particular customer complained that the fries were too thick. So, the fries were very popular at the restaurant. When he got them, the customer was not happy because he thought they were too thick and they were too soft. So, then George Speck, who also was known as George Crumb, sent another batch. This time he tried to make it thinner, and yet the customer was not satisfied. So George got so frustrated that he made fries that were too thin to eat with a fork, hoping to almost annoy the customer who was being really fussy. The customer, surprisingly enough, was very happy. And this extremely thin, extremely crispy, and well salted little dish came to be potato chips. And that's how potato chips were invented in 1853. That's the story.
Wow. I've heard the story, but George Crumb was a new addition to me. George Speck.
Interestingly, he was born George Speck, and he professionally adopted the name Crumb later on in life. So
It's a
that's
little.
how it went to be.
I don't know what to make of it. The fact that both his last names, one is Crumb and the other is Speck, both pointing to very tiny items.
Well, he managed to create something which does create a lot of crumbs and specks while eating. So I guess it's all fair.
Aptly named. Aptly named.
Happily.
Okay. Okay. I am going to go to a connect question. So I'm going to give you five
Hmm.
names.
Okay.
Okay. And I need you to tell me what connects them. It's a very singular connect.
Okay.
Right. So there's only one thing that would possibly connect all of them.
Okay.
Gerhard Domagk, Richard Kuhn, Adolf Butenandt, Liu Xiaobo, and Boris Pasternak.
Um. Wow. Apart from Richard Kuhn, which also is very vague, I don't think I've even heard the other names. Um.
Boris Pasternak, possibly.
Doesn't ring a bell right now. Okay, so I'm assuming these are all names of people. Can I check if these are fictional people or real
No,
individuals?
yes, they are all not living, but flesh and blood. They were flesh and blood.
Okay, so they were people who lived at some point. Okay, could you repeat the names again?
Okay, the names are Gerhard Domagk,
Mm-hmm.
Richard Kuhn,
Mm-hmm.
Adolf Butenandt, Liu Xiaobo, and Boris Pasternak.
So next question I'm going to ask are, were they all alive at the same time or are they all from different?
Oh, nothing like that. Nothing like that.
Yeah.
You do want a clue? I had put Boris Pasternak's name last, hoping that you would recognize that. But Boris Pasternak
No.
is the author of Doctor Zhivago. Does that give
Okay.
you something to work on?
I have not watched the film or read the book, so hmm.
No, you wouldn't have to read that. There's another piece of kind of trivia that's associated with the fact with Dr. Zhivago. Because the others, it's, unless you are do a, like really deep dive, it's very difficult to get what those are for. I had put Dr. Zhivago because that one may be the one that cracks it for you.
No,
Okay,
right now I'm a bit lost.
I'll give you another. Mm, Okay, so I'll give you years associated with these people, right? So
Okay.
Gerhard Domagk was 1939, Richard Kuhn was 1938, Adolf Butenandt was 1939, Boris Pasternak was 1958, and Liu Xiaobo was 2010.
Oh, wow. Are they from the entertainment industry by any chance?
No, no, no.
Why
So
do I know the
I'll give
name?
you an additional clue because again, as I mentioned, if you don't know these names, it's very difficult to get them. So
Hmm.
Gerhard Domagk, I would say you think medicine. Richard
Okay.
Kuhn would be, I would ask you to think chemistry. Adolf Butenandt also chemistry. Boris Pasternak literature, and Liu Xiaobo would be peace.
So I'm assuming it's Nobel Prizes, but then
Yes.
what about Nobel Prizes is this? Posthumous Nobel Prizes?
No, no. Nobel prizes are
Are
notoriously
not given
not given
posthumously.
posthumously.
Yeah, they're not given posthumously.
Hence
That's
why
right.
MK Gandhi does not have a
Gandhi
Nobel
doesn't
Prize.
have that one. Yes, that's how I came across that trivia as well. Oh, did they reject the Nobel Prize? Did they not?
You're very close. You're very close. They did not reject it, but
Oh, but was it retracted? Was it
no, their governments did not allow
the
them
government
to.
rejected it? Oh, yes, 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 yes. Okay, that's how I know that.
Yeah.
Is that a Chinese name?
Liu Xiaobo.
Li Xiaobo was a
He was
Chinese name.
yeah,
Yes.
he was in jail when they came it. So I'll give you a little bit of
Okay.
history. So three of these people, as I mentioned, Gerhard Domagk, Richard Kuhn, and Adolf Butenandt, were from Nazi Germany during the time.
Ah,
So
okay.
what happened was in 1936, the Nobel Foundation offended Adolf Hitler when it awarded the 1935 Nobel Peace Prize to Karl von Ossietzky, a German writer who publicly opposed Hitler and Nazism. Hitler reacted by issuing a decree on 31st January 1937 that forbade German nationals from accepting any Nobel Prizes. So this prevented three Germans from accepting their prizes: Gerhard Domagk, who won the 1939 prize in physiology or medicine; Richard Kuhn, the prize in 1938 for chemistry; and Adolf Butenandt, 1939 in chemistry. Right, that's all Nazi Germany. Boris
Okay.
Pasternak had actually at first accepted the 1958 Nobel Prize in Literature, but was forced by the Soviet authorities to decline because the prize was considered a reward for the dissident political innuendo in his novel Dr. Zhivago. The
Ah,
2010 Nobel Peace Prize was awarded to Liu Xiaobo when he was serving a prison sentence for subversion of the state, with the Chinese government not allowing him or his family members to attend the ceremony.
okay.
Now, what you mentioned is, voluntarily declined, which is a very fancy way of
Hmm.
saying rejected it. The two laureates have voluntarily declined the Nobel Prize. Jean-Paul Sartre famously declined in 1964 for literature, stating that a writer must refuse to allow himself to be transformed into an institution, even if it
Yes.
takes place in the most honorable form.
Ah, yes, I remember this. Yes.
Yes. And the second person who refused the prize is Le Duc Tho, who was awarded the 1973 Peace Prize for his role in the Paris Peace Accords. He declined, saying that there was no actual peace in Vietnam. And the war resumed 4 months after he was declared the winner. So,
Oh, wow. Prescient in the most depressing way,
yes.
but
So,
interesting. Yes, and I think I have again in my quest to also find trivia. I believe I was going doing a deep dive on Nobel Prizes, and I found this thing about people rejecting it. That's why I remember that, but I
yeah.
had forgotten
Yeah.
there were people who were not allowed to take the or receive the prizes. But cool, lovely trivia.
Yes.
Okay, all right. Let's move to the US for my next question.
Okay. Hmm.
So, Leland Stanford
Mm-hmm.
who, as you would guess, the university is named after, and who was the founder of the university along with his wife. Also had a
Okay.
large farm at which he
Mm.
on which he bred, trained, and raced different kinds of horses. So your standard breds, your thoroughbreds, and stuff. He was
Okay.
also interested in arts and science.
Okay.
At some point, allegedly, he made a bet, a very specific bet,
Okay.
out of which a very historical and iconic uh, result happened. So something very iconic happened, something very historical happened because of the bet that he made. This was back in
Okay.
1872. So, what was the
Okay.
bet and what happened as a result of the bet?
Mm. Did he found the university on there or a bet? No, right?
No, so it doesn't have anything to do with the university, but it was just a little piece of trivia that he's the same
Okay. So you,
guy.
you mentioned he has a farm. What time frame is this? What year or time frame is this?
So, 1872 is when apparently he made the bet, and
Okay.
this is around the time that the result also happened around 1870. So, there were a couple of attempts to settle the bet. 1873, 1877, 1878 is what is most iconically remembered.
Does this have, you mentioned thoroughbreds? Does this have to do anything with like wait, Secretariat was in the 20th century, right? Secretariat. Seabiscuit was definitely the
Yes,
20th century.
yes,
Secretariat, I
yes.
think, was also the 20th century.
I believe
Is it, am
Secretariat.
I on the
So
right? Yeah,
it
am
doesn't
I
have
on the
anything to
right
do with
line?
Secretariat. It doesn't have anything to do.
Okay.
It does have something to do with horses, but not with
Okay.
these specifically very famous horses. No.
Something to do with horses. No, yeah, you'll have to give me something else.
Okay, so I
Some
also
clue you'll
mentioned he
have to.
was interested in the arts, and his bet was settled. So he approached this gentleman, and maybe this gentleman's name would ring a bell. Edward Muybridge, who helped settle his bet.
Edward Muybridge. Why is that name familiar? I can't remember now why it's familiar, but I have read his name somewhere.
You probably have heard it recently in a pretty, I guess, well received, or at least a lot of people did like it. Movie that came out last year.
Movie that came out
This
last
this
year.
particular historical event itself is a reference in that movie, along with Edward Muybridge's name.
Okay, then I have not seen the movie, so that'll be fairly sure. I'm not. I don't think I've seen
Okay.
it that way. I must have because I don't remember anything regarding a bet in a movie recently. Okay. Um. mhm. Arts. Um. Okay. Is this okay? This is way out of left field, but no, I don't think so. This is 1872. You said right? Okay.
1872
So
was the
this is
bet. I believe 1873 was the first attempt. There's another attempt
okay.
in
So
1877.
it's not,
1878 is
it's
what?
not Lincoln's assassination then. I think
Oh,
that
no,
was in
no,
the
no.
1869 or something, right? So it's
Oh,
not
no, no,
that.
no.
I'm not sure of the year, but yeah, I'm guessing it's not that. Okay, so it's not that. Because I was thinking you said event that changed the world.
No,
Okay.
not exactly, but in a way, I guess most people might not know this event specifically, but it has changed the world in oh so many ways.
Okay.
Yeah. All
Okay,
right,
I'm blanking. I'm blanking.
let me bring you a bit closer then.
Mhm.
The movie that actually referenced it last year, let me give you that name, and maybe that leads you to the answer.
Okay.
It is the third movie by Jordan Peele. It's called Nope.
Yeah, wait. I've seen no, but that's set in the current.
That's
Oh,
it.
okay. This is the okay. This is the first. I think one of the opening sequences where she's saying that the horse and the jockey in that iconic picture
That
is
is right.
okay. So this is okay. I think that's where
Okay.
they mentioned. Okay, so, but what? So,
So
what was the
you
bet?
have hit upon the answer. So let me just clarify.
Okay.
So Edward Muybridge helped Stanford uh, settle his bet, and the bet was he was always not sure of what the relative positions of the feet of horses in rapid motion were. So somebody had bet him that it was at least at any given point of time, at least one foot was on the ground, was in contact with the ground,
Oh,
and
okay. Yes,
Stanford had the
yes.
opinion that all 4 feet would be off the floor. Now there
Okay.
was no real way to deduce the answer or to settle this bet back then, except when Muybridge came along and said, you know what, I'm going to try to photograph a horse in motion. So in 1873, there was the first attempt. In 1877, there was a single image of a horse trotting. In 1878 is when he published a series of images. So these are called
Hmm.
cabinet cards, which include
Yeah.
six, I believe, six cards that each show 6 to 12 photographs depicting the motion of a horse. And in these photographs, you can tell that all 4 legs, all 4 feet of the horse are off the ground at one point in the process of a fast gallop.
Okay. Nice, nice.
And
Uh,
this was how the first ever film came to be. That is where the history
yeah.
comes in. The first ever film
I
is
have
The
I,
Horse in Motion.
I have an additional kind of tangential piece of trivia. This is somewhat medically related. So
Hmm.
I don't know if you've heard, but there are people looking into using DNA as a form of data storage.
Yeah.
So, one group of researchers, I think this was around 6 or 7 years ago, what they did was they took this video of a horse galloping, right?
Hmm.
They converted into a genetic sequence and inserted it
Hmm.
into the DNA of a bacteria. They
Hmm.
allowed the bacteria to grow for, I think, a few generations, then took one of the bacteria out and kind of encoded the genetic sequence to form the video again. Now the video did undergo some level of degradation. I've seen the video. It's after a few generations, it is little degraded, but they still
Hmm.
did manage to propagate a video through generations of bacteria.
Okay, interesting. I know because this whole storing data in DNA, I believe there was something along the lines of storing Shakespeare's work or some very famous piece of literature as well. So, yeah, I know there have been multiple attempts to do the same. Cool. Didn't know they did this with
Yeah,
the
because
movie as well.
a lot of data density, you're able to store a lot of information.
Right, right, right.
And unlike binary, you have 4 states to kind of apply
No,
4 different
no.
nucleotides. So this was a good question. I did not know that this was a result of a bet. No, like I had heard of this bet separately, but it was not in conjunction with this, Stanford, Leland
Yeah.
Stanford, nor the video. So you brought
Yeah, and
it
also
together for me.
surprisingly, the man who made the bet was Stanford, who obviously everybody knows as being the
That's
namesake
so
for the
great.
university. Yeah.
Okay. So my next question is again going completely in a different field, but I'm asking this question more for the to kind of bring awareness rather than anything else. So this is a question that I'm guessing you'll have to guess more than work out.
Okay.
So this is the question: Anthony Maria Irudayam. Anthony Maria Irudayam is a two-time world champion and nine-time national champion of India. He is the only recipient of the Arjuna Award in the sport till now. Simple question: which sport does he play?
Ooh, only recipient
Yeah,
sport.
of the Arjuna Award for this sport. Two-time world champion, nine-time Indian national champion for this sport.
Two, two-time world. So it's a solo sport then.
Hmm.
Oh boy. An only recipient. So again, let me ask this question: is it a sport that is not very commonly played in India? Then I guess.
No, no, no. It's very commonly played in India.
Oh, okay. Because I was gonna say something like I don't know, skiing or something.
No, no, no.
Uh,
Definitely not. It's very commonly played. I've played it. You've played it. I'm guessing
hmm,
at least 50 to 60% of people listening to this podcast in India have played it at some point in their life, at least once. I'm guessing they must have at least seen the sport being played. It's seen in movies. It's seen in like in regular life. It's a very common sport in India, but not many people know, which is why exactly I am putting this question out so that people know that,
Okay.
Mr. Irudayam deserves a little bit of recognition, which I feel that he hasn't gotten enough. I mean, like he has been honored, but he, you know,
His name is not as commonplace as it should be.
as it should be. Yes.
Okay. Speed walking. Everybody does it.
No.
Nobody respects it for some reason. Just because
No.
it
No.
looks a bit strange. Okay, not speed walking.
Nope.
Um, we have all
By the
done
way,
it,
let me
right?
just put
Yeah.
it this way as well. You mentioned that this is a solo sport. Not necessarily. There is a team version of this as well.
Hmm. Oh, okay.
Basically, the
Cycling?
solo is called the singles, and the team version is called the doubles.
Oh, I was going to say cycling, but I know doubles is not the team. There are four cyclists usually.
No, no, it's not. It's not double. It's not cycling.
Ah, okay. Oh, then I don't know. Yeah. You'll have to give me some sort of clue.
Okay, let me just put it this way. Some people may call this a game rather than a sport, though there is a
Hmm.
lot of skill that's involved.
Okay. Maybe a game, maybe a sport. Again, it can't be a chess. It can't be chess.
It's not chess, obviously, not chess.
Is it like electronic games? Is it some sort of video game thing?
No, 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 no. This basically all you don't require any form of support for the. You just need the accoutrements for this game, and anybody can start playing.
Okay. Have
And I
fun.
guarantee you've definitely played it. I mean, like I would be very, 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 very surprised if you've never played it even once.
Coco. But again,
No.
that's a team sport. Man, I can't think of anything. Try to think this commonly pakdan pakdai. No, no. Oh boy. Um. Okay, so it's singles as well as doubles. So
Singles as well
people
as doubles.
can't be table tennis. Can't be tennis. Wow,
Nope.
what could potentially be? Yeah, no, I have no clue at all right now. Yeah. Give me some other clue of how is this game played? How is this sport played? Where is it played?
Mostly you require at least two people to play, but up to four.
Okay.
It's played in schools, it's played in hostels, it's played in
Oh, I
anywhere
know.
that
It's very
people.
obviously it's pen fight. If you haven't played pen fight, you haven't really gone through the Indian
Okay,
education system.
let me put it this way. If you were like pen fight is when you don't have a games period, right? What
Yes.
happens when you do have a games period?
The math teacher says that the syllabus is not over, so she's taking over the games period. Okay, no.
No, I'm saying, like, saying you just imagine you and a couple of your friends are playing pen fight, right? There was a
Hmm.
period, the pen fight. What would you then convert that into during a games period?
So I'm trying to think of like some gully cricket version of things, but then again, two people or a
No,
solo sport. I can't think of what. Badminton again? No, I'm not sure. I'm sure
no.
badminton is more.
Like I said, na game. Think game. People. This is okay. Let me just put it this way. You can play this outdoors if you want to, but you can also play it indoors.
What?
Because I've been to Bombay and I've seen some of the older societies. You can find uncles in the evening sitting and playing this in one of the clubhouses,
Oh,
or
is it carom?
it is carom. Yes, it is
Okay.
carom.
The uncles playing it indoors gave it away a bit. But interesting. Wow. Carom has only one Arjuna. That makes sense. That does make sense. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
So he was, as I mentioned, two-time world champion, nine-time national champion.
Hmm.
He's also the, he's been very outspoken about the fact that Carom does not receive as many sponsorships or any kind of things like that. He's participated all over the world: the World Carom Championship, the SAR Carom Championship, US Open International Carom Tournament, the French Open International Carom Tournament. The you know He's played doubles with he became double champion with R. Arogia Raj, who's also from Tamil Nadu. Yeah, so he was also one of the judges of the All India Carom Federation for the 2020 Online World Carom Challenge.
Okay. Wow. And oh, wow, I would never ever qualify carom as not a game of skill at all. It is, and as somebody who really lacks the dexterity and the hand-eye coordination, I
Yes.
know how much skill is involved in
I feel your pain, my friend. I belong in the same boat.
Yeah, no wonder both of us struggle with sports questions. Okay, but good for this gentleman,
Yeah.
and yeah, hopefully our
Irudayam.
podcast and our was it 84 subscribers? Yay! Shout out to 84 subscribers. Thank you guys for subscribing. Now these
Yeah.
84 people know about him and show some more love to Karam. Yeah. Okay. Let's do a question. Since we were in India, let's move to another Asian country, and
Okay.
hopefully this is a quick question. What is May the 31st, May the 35th in China?
May the 35th.
Yeah.
You do realize that May only has 30 days, right?
Ooh. I know it's late in the night, but it's not that late. I'm not messing up my
Okay. Okay, so
nonsense.
this is not an error that you've made.
No, no, no.
May
Unlike the
I
ICC error, no, it's not.
Okay. May the 35th. I know what May the 4th is. May the 4th be with you. Um, in China, you mentioned, right?
In China specifically, yes.
Mm. Nope. I'm guessing this is some kind of cryptic clue where nothing is as it seems.
It
Obviously,
is
because
not.
there is no
It
May
is nothing.
35th.
I wouldn't call it cryptic in the way that it isn't directly leading to the answer. It is May 35th is a day that is uh,
But how
spoken
can
of
May
most
35th
often.
be a day? There is no
Well,
35th.
okay, so let's try to crack this, shall we? Because China obviously is known for a lot of things. The Chinese government is infamously also known for being pretty tough on dissent and criticism. So does that help
Okay.
you make a connection? So why would people
No, because
then
there is no
use?
date as May the 35th.
Why
I'm
would
stuck
people
on it.
use
I'm
May
sorry.
35th? Yes. So why would people use May the 35th when referring
Because
to
they
a
can't
day?
count. No, sorry, that's rude.
They
May.
definitely can count, and they are using that to their advantage and to
Oh, okay,
avoid.
okay, okay. So basically, this is some way of circumventing China's censorship.
Yes, but now specifically what?
So if May 35th, that would then be June 5th. If you wanted to kind of
May has
extend
31.
and it's
May has 31 days. May has 31 days.
May
So
31. Yeah, June 4th. No, wait, I'm getting
that's right.
confused now. Wait.
Yes, yes, yes. June
Yeah.
4th, yes.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So May has 31 days. Okay. I just humiliated myself in front of everybody for the podcast. So, my defense, it is currently 2 o'clock in the morning when we are recording this. So, I am allowed to have brain farts. Okay. Yeah. So, May. So, this is June 4th. June 4th, Tiananmen Square.
Tiananmen Square crackdown happened on June 4th. So
Oh, okay.
any reference to hashtag June 4th or June 4th on online posts and social media is usually obviously blacklisted immediately. So
Huh, huh.
people started referring to it as May 35th instead of June 4th.
You do realize that the
Obviously,
Chinese government aren't listening to this podcast. Obviously, they will listen to this podcast because they have nothing else better to do. They will now immediately block May the 35th as well. You have done a great
I
disservice to the democratic people of China.
in my defense, they've already blocked it. The Chinese government is way smarter than we are giving them credit for here right now. So whatever the reasons for cracking down on dissent is, they definitely do a good job of cracking down on it, and hence they have also blacklisted, if I may the 35th.
Okay.
But for a
Okay.
while,
Nice.
there people used to use it as an alibi, not an alibi. What am I saying? As
As a
a
euphemism, I think might be
euphemism.
more.
Wow, I'm also doing brain farts at 2 a.m. as a euphemism for June the 4th, the Tiananmen Square crackdown anniversary. Yeah.
Okay. That's nice. That's nice. I did not know that. That was a very nice one. Okay. Okay. I'll think we have time for one more set of questions.
Let's do it.
Okay. So, X was conceived by Bobby Kooka and Umesh Rao, who was an artist at J. Walter Thompson Ltd. The look of X was inspired by Syed Wajid Ali, an industrialist from Pakistan. Wajid Saab had a great personality and lifestyle that inspired Bobby to create X. I need you to identify X.
Is this the man wearing the turban, uh, the mascot for? Is that the mascot for Tata? Am I close? Am I anywhere
You're
in the
very
vicinity
close.
of
You're
an
very
answer?
close. I don't know. I don't know whether
Mm,
I should be cruel and insist on you to give me the exact answer or just give it to you right now because it
It,
is very impressive that you got it so quickly.
I'll tell you how I got there also. Is it Tata? Oh boy, Air India. Is it the Air India
Yes,
mascot?
yes,
It is okay.
yes. What is the Air India mascot called? Do you have? I'm just being mean now, but
Oh wow, no, this I have no clue what is. Maharaja something,
uh,
something
yes,
Maharaja.
yes. It is the Maharaja. So the Air India's mascot is
It
called
it is the
the
Maharaja.
Maharaja.
Okay,
It is the Maharaja.
okay, all right. I'll tell you how I got this because when you started talking about this, and I'm just giving away a future question that I wanted to ask. What I was thinking of when you mentioned it was another iconic character that has been inspired by a person who was known to have a very specific style, and the person in question is J.P. Morgan. So, do you know who
Okay.
the character is?
The Monopoly Man.
The Monopoly Man. Yes, that's exactly. So, when you said person was this particular thing was inspired, I was like, oh, which mascot do I know in India? Which is inspired. So,
Yeah.
hence, that was yeah, a
So
trap.
I'll just
Right
give you
there.
a little bit of knowledge. So there is another name for the Maharaja before he became to be known as the Maharaja. He was
Mm-hmm.
also known as the Rogue, as in
Okay.
ROGUE, the Rogue. Yeah.
Okay.
It was first conceived in 1946 by Bobby Kooka, Air India's commercial director, illustrated by Umesh Rao, artist at J. Walter Thompson Limited, which is an advertising agency in Mumbai. While the Maharaja was first designed for an in-flight memo pad, he then went on to become the star of a series of promotions launched by Air India. Not many people
Okay.
know this, but his famous mustache was inspired by Syed Wajid Ali, an industrialist from Pakistan.
Interesting.
So
Interesting.
that now it's your turn. Last question for the day for this episode.
All right. Last question for the episode. Let's do an etymology question because why not?
Yes, because we have a great
Okay.
shortage of those.
Always, always. You can't ever have enough. All right. So, Samuel Wilson was a meat packer
Okay.
from New York. So, we're going back to the
Okay.
US. Okay. Samuel Wilson was a meat packer from New York who used to supply
Okay.
rations for American soldiers during the War of 1812.
That's
There
the
was a
Spanish American War.
I believe so,
1812
yes.
would be the Spanish American War. Yeah. Okay.
I will check that, but yes, I believe that is the case. There
Okay.
was a requirement at the time for contractors to stamp their name and where the
Uh,
rations came from onto the food that they were sending.
okay.
So there was apparently a joke that emerged from Wilson's stamp. And how do we popularly know that whatever the joke was and what did it give birth to that we know popularly today?
I um I have two guesses
Okay.
because you said stamp, but one of them I'm fairly sure is because of World War Two.
Hmm.
So I'm no, I'll just tell that first because I'm fairly sure. So one, I think American kind of army supplies were stamped with GI. That's how
Hmm.
American soldiers came to be known as GIs. But I think that is World War Two, right?
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah.
Okay, and the other one, yeah, it makes sense. Yes, yes. So this guy is the name behind Uncle Sam.
Hey, that's a wonderful quick crack. That's absolutely right. It is
Yeah.
Uncle Sam, and the packaging was stamped with EA hyphen US. So the
Okay.
reason being that EA was the contractor which supplied Albert Anderson, and the US, of course, referred to the food where it was being sent, the destination, right? So the US. Rather, sorry, the
Okay.
origin. So the US, right? Turns out that when somebody asked, like, oh, where are these from, and what does it stand for? Somebody said Albert Anderson and Uncle Sam, referencing to Samuel Wilson, who was the meat packer, who wasn't the contractor, but the
Okay.
meat packer. But they said
Me-
Albert Anderson and Uncle Sam. And that's how allegedly Uncle Sam, though there are disputed accounts as well, but the popularly accepted origin to Uncle Sam is the fact that Samuel Wilson, the meat packer, gave his name to Uncle Sam, and how it is now
Uh,
referred, Uncle Sam being the euphemism for the US.
US. There is another question. I'm basically just giving away another question here, but still, I just love it. It's very tangentially related, so I'll put it this way. There was an artist by the name of James Flagg, and when the US Army started making posters with Uncle Sam on it,
Mhm.
they hired him to make a poster. The problem was he wasn't able to find a proper model for it. For Uncle
Okay.
Sam, the iconic image that we have now. So finally, what he did was he painted himself, but as an older person with a goatee.
This is I want you to join the US Army.
I want to join the US Army. So
Uh,
that iconic recruiting poster for the US Army,
mhm,
starring Uncle Sam, the
mhm.
man's face that you see is an aged face of the artist himself, Mr. Flagg, James Flagg, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah.
Oh, how cool! All right. Well, that's a lovely piece of trivia right there as well. Okay, I believe that is the end of the episode.
Yes, that is the end of our episode. So Aditya, before we wind up today's episode, there is a question that is due from you that you owe us. So, what's your question for this week?
So I was inspired by your question, and you asked me what sport, and that led me to the answer. What sport do old uncles sometimes play in the evenings in society sometimes? And my question obviously is going to be, what is the other sport that old uncles also play in societies? Which I believe is also woefully ignored by the Arjuna Award and other sporting halls of fame. So yeah, that's going to be the answer next week.
And with that, we are winding up this episode. Thank you for listening in. We hope you enjoyed the show. If you liked what you heard, please consider subscribing to our podcast and leaving us a review on your favorite podcast platform, wherever you're listening to us right now. It will help us reach a wider audience, allows more people to discover and enjoy the show. So take 2 seconds out to rate us and subscribe to us, please. We'd also love to hear from you feedback, suggestions, trivia, sponsorships. You can reach us on Instagram at Are You Quizzing Me? We appreciate your support and look forward to sharing more episodes with you in the future. Stay tuned for for Aditya, our fact checker general, will be back after the musical sting for the fact check for this episode. So thank you again for tuning in. Have a great day from me.
And goodbye. See you soon.
And here's the fact check for the episode. The game of Battleship is thought to have its origins in the French game La Attaque, played during World War I. The three Germans who were not able to receive their Nobel Prizes due to Hitler's decree, Gerhard Domagk, Richard Kuhn, and Adolf Butenandt, did receive their certificates and medals later but did not receive the prize money. Pasternak died without ever receiving the prize. However, he was honored by the Nobel Foundation at a banquet in Stockholm on 9 December 1989, where they presented the medal to his son. Abraham Lincoln, the 16th President of the United States, was assassinated on April 14, 1865. The War of 1812 was fought by the United States of America and its indigenous allies against the United Kingdom and its own indigenous allies in British North America, with limited participation by Spain in Florida. And that's all for the fact check.